Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. You know, there's so much going on in Israel, but I came to the realization they like to hide stuff. In this area that an explosion happened in, there are many that say there is a nuclear facility there. Now, Israel has been denying this for a long time. And also, what got hit was a factory that makes missiles. So, a very large explosion happened. I would not be surprised if they'll try to blame it on the Iranians. And I did hear something, but I could not confirm that it was the Iranians. But it was a massive explosion. And they said this one was really loud. And people are saying they saw a mushroom cloud at night that was around that facility. And there are no real answers, but I'm going to let you see this and listen to it. Now, the irony is, there was buzzing around, Israel and the US about nuking Iran. And I was like, look at the irony in this whole thing. Look at what your intentions was and look at what's happening to you now. So we shall see what the outcome is, but there is a lot of great concern because of the way this explosion looked. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. So here, yeah. Okay. Y'all, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
There has been a massive explosion in Israel today. This video released just moments ago from Beit Shemesh, Israel, shows a massive mushroom cloud emerging. The Israeli government is already moving to hide this situation, but we've got it all. This explosion occurred near the Beit Shemesh air base in Israel, the same base that holds nuclear material. Actually, it holds nuclear warheads that are mobile and even stationed there. With this being the air base and this road being where all these videos are from. Now, this explosion was seen miles away, and the IDF blocked off all roads that led to the airbase. And as the police and the ambulances arrived, none of them were allowed to, or even as of now, hours later, allowed to get near it. As of now, the Israelis say it was a controlled detonation. Even though for a controlled or a test detonation of a weapon, the nearby cities would get a weeks-long advance notice. This happened out of nowhere. The media wasn't warned. People weren't warned. The police weren't even warned, begging the question, what the hell did they detonate? Comment your thoughts, follow me for the newest update.
In this footage, an intense late-night flash and a massive glowing orange mushroom-shaped plume illuminating the sky near Beit Shemesh in central Israel. The powerful blast, recorded on May 16, shook homes across the Jerusalem region, triggering immediate online speculation of an emergency mishap or an active kinetic attack. However, official statements from Tomer, Israel's state-owned rocket propulsion specialist, quickly clarified the event as a pre-planned controlled static motor test that proceeded entirely according to schedule. The combustion site, located at a dedicated engine testing facility within the sensitive Stot Micah Air Base footprint, is responsible for validating Israel's premier solid rocket motors. Tomer develops and manufactures the high-energy propulsion units that power critical state assets, including the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 ballistic missile interceptors, the Barak MX air defense system, and Shavit satellite launch vehicles.
We might actually have a big fucking problem.
Fuck. What's it? What the fuck? Why, Maze? You. Maze.
The next footage is a documented test of a nuclear weapon. Those look incredibly similar, don't they? First footage that was taken in Israel last night documented what people were reacting to. A massive blast with a massive sound that came out of it. Sounded like a single explosion, not multiples. There's been online speculation that this may have been a Arrow 3 air interceptor missile storage site that was hit. People are speculating that this was a test because this is towards a test site in Israel. Speculation this morning that Israel tested a nuclear weapon. From my viewpoint, and again, I don't know the distance from this explosion, but from my viewpoint, this appeared to be less than 10 kilotons. The weapon that was dropped on Hiroshima was 15 kilotons. So let's run out each one of these possibilities and what they could mean. First, Arrow 3 interceptors were hit and a large explosion happened. That means that Iran successfully targeted interceptor missiles. Second, some kind of explosive test, non-nuclear. Doesn't make very much sense to me. The third possibility, Israel is getting impatient with the war in Iran and tests a nuclear weapon as a direct threat to Iran. Of course, the Israeli government is saying that this is not a nuclear weapon at this point, but I would not be surprised if we start hearing other language coming out before Monday. If Israel did indeed threaten Iran by testing a nuclear weapon, then the stock market is going to drop dramatically on Monday. Watch for other countries start to deploy assets to try to detect if nuclear radiation is coming out of Israel at that test site. We will know here soon for a fact what this was and the purpose. I do find it odd that nobody in mainstream media seems to be talking about this. What do you guys think? Do you think they're being tight-lipped for a reason? What do you guys think is going on in Israel? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, guys, drop a follow on TikTok, drop a follow on Instagram, drop a follow on Blue Sky. Or you can support my work with $5 a month on Instagram or with the Venmo in my bio. Talk to you guys later. Love you.
What the fuck? What the fuck? וואי, מה זה? יש שם בסיס צבאי באמא שלי. יו! מה זה?
Late Saturday night, the skies over the occupied city of Beit Shemesh, just west of occupied Al-Quds, lit up not with stars, but with a towering, hellish fireball. A mushroom cloud, the kind you associate with tactical weapons or catastrophic industrial failure, rose over a state-owned facility run by Tomer, the occupation's most sensitive rocket engine manufacturer.
Scenes resembling an apocalypse unfolded in Israel amid a massive explosion ripped through the night sky amid soaring tensions with Iran.
A massive explosion lit up the night sky over central Israel, sending a towering mushroom-like cloud into the air near Beit Shemesh.
Massive explosion lit up the skies over central Israel. A giant fireball, thick smoke, mushroom cloud visuals.
We are not talking about a spare parts warehouse. Tomer is the beating heart of the occupation's missile defense industrial base, the very place that designs and builds the propulsion systems for the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 interceptors. the systems the occupation relies on as its primary shield against Iranian ballistic missiles. Without Tomer engines, there are no Arrow interceptors. Without Arrow interceptors, there is no missile defense. And at this precise moment, as the occupation licks its wounds from a war it started, as the ceasefire with Iran hangs by a thread, and the world watches to see if the region will erupt again, a massive blast rips through this facility. The occupation's official story came fast and neat. A pre-planned test carried out according to schedule. But I have to tell you, this story collapses under the slightest scrutiny, and we need to talk about why. Think about the logic. When has a regime ever detonated a massive city-rattling explosion at 11:30 at night, creating a fireball visible for miles, without warning the very people it claims to protect? Residents in Beit Shemesh, a city that was already hit by Iranian ballistic missiles during the last confrontation and is understandably on edge, received zero advance notification. Imagine sitting in your home, still traumatized from the last barrage, and the sky suddenly erupts. Emergency services scrambled immediately. You don't do that for something planned. Reports indicate that emergency response teams were actually initially blocked from entering the area. Why would you block your own first responders from the site of a controlled experiment? The facts are screaming at us. Former CIA analyst Larry Johnson, who has been dissecting this event, put it bluntly: nobody conducts a controlled blast at nearly midnight without telling first responders. The scale of the explosion, the mushroom cloud captured in videos sweeping across social media, matches precisely one thing: the catastrophic, unplanned ignition of solid rocket propellant. What we likely witnessed was either a catastrophic industrial accident during production or handling, or something far more sinister. Understand the stakes. Iran, for the first time, has escalated on its own terms, initiating conflict rather than merely responding. The region is dealing with a more emboldened Iran than the one that entered the ceasefire. And right at this moment, the factory that makes the engines for the interceptors meant to stop Iranian missiles goes up in flames. The timing is either the cruelest coincidence or the most obvious signal. Now, before we pull on this thread further and expose the rot at the center of this story, I need you to do something for me. If you value journalism that doesn't bow to the occupation's narratives, warplanes, this is not a generic fact.
If I saw it, I'd be in Israel.
Videos as well. I know, Larry, you've seen the videos. Just for the audience, what's your analysis? So I'll kind of give you the kind of, I'm not sure if you know everything I'm about to say, but I'll kind of give you a quick overview. So we got reports. I was doing a live interview, and I got a video of the explosion. Immediately, to me, it looked like something pretty significant. And then we got reports, unconfirmed reports, and then we got them kind of confirmed afterwards, is that the search and rescue operations and emergency services were not allowed to the location. And then we got more footage coming in. You're going to see some of it play now as I give the overview. Then we got information that was, according to some Israeli media, is being investigated. Then they said it's a planned detonation. In the region is called, I'll read out the region's name later. I think that's less important. So it was a planned detonation, but that didn't add up because there was no warning given in advance. It's way too big for a planned detonation. Maybe you disagree with me, Larry. And why would there be emergency services scrambled for a planned detonation? And then we got a report finally that, according to Israeli media, the explosion has been attributed to the Tomer company, a defense company, a government defense firm that develops and manufactures rocket systems used across air, land, and naval weapon systems, including engines for Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 interceptor missiles. Reporters were initially instructed to remove coverage entirely, then permitted to publish only without audio, before finally being allowed to report the incident involved a government defense company. And we've only got 3 videos so far. Out of that massive explosion, all the people around, only 3 videos have gone out. So what's your thoughts, Larry? Because the timing of it is very suspicious.
Well, I agree with you that this is not what they'd call a controlled demolition or detonation. That if you're going, if you found some ordnance from the previous strikes, number one, why are you detonating it at night? Rope it off, wait till daylight so you can actually see what you're doing. Be very clear on what you're doing. There was no emergency to do that. So it looks like most likely, based upon the nature of this plant, it was probably there was either an accident or deliberate sabotage inside the plant, which caused that explosion. Because your instincts are right that the size of that, the size of the blast and then the ensuing column that went into the sky, this was significant. So this was a huge explosion, not a minor explosion.
Yeah, pause, Lisa. Pause at where the plumes are. Yeah, so if this is obviously it's a plant detonation is no longer the story now. It's an explosion at the defense factory. So the question is whether it's an accident or whether it's a planned, whether it's a sabotage by Iran. What's your instinct? Because obviously we can't know for sure. But again, accidents like this are not common at all in Israel. Number one, number two, just the timing of it. We've seen so many sabotages happen in Iran by Mossad and U.S. intelligence. Now, for the first time, we may be seeing it the other way around.
Yeah, no, it's possible. I mean, I really, at this point, it'd just be speculation that it was either accident or sabotage. Those are the two logical outcomes. What I'm pretty sure it is not, that this was a deliberate strike by Iran to preempt something. I think Iran's keeping its powder dry.
New York Times says in 2 days' time the military operation will start. So when you say preempt something, New York Times tell us exactly what they're preempting, possibly.
Yeah, I mean some of the reports that the United States is refining its plans about what the plans have been, in the words of a friend of mine, locked and loaded for several weeks. So this not they're not having to scramble around and say let's come up with some new plans for President Trump.
For it. So that could be more of a warning maybe by Iran against Israel to, hey, ease it up, stop the war drums. We're trying to reach some sort of agreement that Arachi said. Arachi put out a statement actually today that kind of is in line with this. He's like, I kind of...
Y'all, I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that Iran is really not involved in this. It might have been some sort of accident that they don't want to admit to. But I would not be shocked if they try to blame Iran for this. But I don't know. I'm just getting the feeling that Iran was not involved in this explosion. This must be some error or some accident they had in Israel. But I would not be surprised if they never let this, because it's funny how they wanted to control how much went out to the press. So if it really was just a test or something they were trying out, and I have to agree, why would you do that at practically midnight? And nobody was warned. And that's why I'm thinking it might have been an accident and not any type of testing at all. But, we have to consider the source of where this is coming from and how much truth do these folks really tell, and how much can we really truly believe? I'm just saying. But this story has been really going viral online since this accident happened. And I would imagine, maybe more might come out in the coming days, maybe not. But we shall see. Yeah, it's a lot of lies. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would not even be surprised if they never come out with the truth. Or if it does eventually come out, it will come out, by somebody that either worked around in that area or were part of the military. They may eventually speak, but, it could be some time before we find out why there was a mushroom cloud around midnight in Israel. So we shall, we'll learn. Now, I do have a story that I'm working on. 5 states got hit with a snowstorm and got up to 20 feet of snow. And they're like, this never happens in May. It never happens in May. But it did happen. And it just goes along with some of the strange weather that we have seen this spring. I mean, it has been really strange weather. So it was Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Washington, and Oregon. They got hit with 20 feet of snow in May. And they said this never happens. It never happens in May. And they went from wearing more spring like clothes to back into their winter clothes. So, but yeah, the weather has been even here, you know, and I'm noticing that my fruit trees are not bearing any fruit. And it's because, one day it'll be in the 80s and then the next day it'll drop all the way down in the 50s. And fruit trees are made for warm weather. So when you start plunging them over and over into cooler weather, now I don't see no sign of any fruit on my trees, which is very unusual, but this seems to be the case with a lot of people that have fruit trees in the area. So, and I can tell you, those states, if they got any farming going on, they can forget it. Those crops are gone. 20 feet, you went from spring like weather to 20 feet of snow. Yeah, those crops are gone. Definitely. Cold fronts in Florida. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been a very unusual spring for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I have two. I used to have three. I used to have an apple tree, but my apple tree has long died. It died when we had an ice storm, and the ice storm killed the apple tree. It never came back. And I still got two different fruit trees left, and right now they're not showing nothing, showing me anything. And I should see something on those trees, and I'm not seeing a thing. So, y'all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And just be on the lookout for my live streams tomorrow. Shalom, family. And don't forget to pick up your hair products.